Hello everyone, welcome to our NCE training course. I'm Jenny from NovaStar, today's host. Our training will start soon, and the topic is redundancy configuration. To provide you a good training environment, we sincerely suggest you to keep your audio on mute mode during the whole session. Please scan a QR code or click the link at chat room to sign in. If you cannot click the link, please copy and paste it to your browser. Feel free to leave your questions that are related to today's topic on the chat room. We will reply you later on the Q&A session. If you have any other questions that are not about today's content, please feel free to send an email to nce@novastar.tech. Now, let's welcome Stan. He is today's trainer.
Hello everyone, welcome to NovaStar training session again. I'm Stan of NovaStar, and I'd like to start with the introduction of NCE training first to the guys who are not much familiar with the NCE program. The full name of NCE is NovaStar Certified Engineer. We have trained more than 3,000 individuals all over the world since it started in 2014. And by giving multiple courses and valuable chances to embrace the LED control system, NCE courses enable you to operate and maintain the equipment independently. And because of the new coronavirus, this year we hold the training online. We are hoping more technicians could get the knowledge and the certification even in this hard time. At NCE, we have 8 courses and a final examination. You could get online training certification if you sign in for 6 courses at least, and also pass the final exam. At last, I hope you guys can go through all courses to make a good score. Okay, today we will spend 1 hour together. During this time, I will show you the redundancy configuration of NovaStar control system. And also, after my presentation, we will have a QA part. Let's start. Before going to the redundancy configuration topic, we need to know what is the redundancy backup? What can the redundancy backup do for us? So this is a chart for a very big screen. It's like a Full HD screen. So in this chart, in this figure, we can see we have a video signal coming from a MacBook, and it goes through a video processor right here, and the video processor splits this video signal into 2 sending cards. And the sending card module right here is MCTRL 600. I think maybe some of you are quite familiar with it because it's a very popular product. And we have 2 sending cards right here. The first one, the top one, is a primary sending card using the Ethernet cable to load the whole screen. And the second one is working as a backup device to provide the Ethernet cable signal to the rest, to the last panel on the screen. So actually, normally, if the project is working properly, the video signal should come in from the top one, which is a primary channel, and all the screen can get the video signal and shows correctly. But especially for the live show, if there is one cable broken in the screen, of course, the rest parts of the screen can't get any signal from the primary channel. But if we already set a backup device like this one, the whole system will know there is a cable broken, and the rest part of the screen will automatically switch the signal from the primary channel to the backup channel, just like this. So nobody will find out there is a cable broken because the screen won't have any black screen or any flickering screen display. So this is the redundancy can do for us. And also, in this chart, we are using two controllers for the screen. Because the screen may be too big, we need all the ports of this controller to load the screen. But in the second way, if we have a small screens, like this one, we can use only two ports to load the screen. And on the MCTRL 600, we still have two more available ports. So it's the same situation. We can connect the rest two ports to the last panel of our screen and to finish the redundancy job. So these are the two different situations talking about big screens or small screens, or big controller or small controllers. So both can work. And so let's go to the software configuration. Let's see how to set up the backup in NovaLCT. So there are several ways to make the redundancy configuration. The first way is redundancy on the single unit. It's talking about the small screens. So like in this chart, this is a control PC and also the video source. It provides the USB cable to the VX4S and also the DVI signal to the VX4S. And I think some of you may be quite familiar with this controller as well. It's an all-in-one controller. So it also has four ports. So for this screen right here, we can use only one port, like the port 1, to load the whole screen, and the port 2, which will be the backup port, to connect to the last panel of the port 1, just like the figure here. So in this chart, let's see what we need to do on the software. In the NovaLCT, after we log in the user, we can find out the control system is 1, because there is only one control system. And when we click the view details of device, we can see, okay, we are using VX4S and the number is 1, so this controller is detected successfully. And then we can go to click the screen configuration and check the current operation, which is USB port. Everything is correct, and we can click Next and go to set the redundancy backup configuration. And before we set the redundancy, we must check the configuration of your whole screen. We need to make sure the primary channel is working right now. So we must go to the screen connection to check the primary channel connection is correct, like the Ethernet cable is chosen correctly, and the receiving card resolution, and also the whole screen wiring are all proper. So after that, we can click Send to Hardware and click Save. After making sure the screen is working properly, we can move to the Sending Card tab right here. There will be a redundancy configuration here. So the step to configure the redundancy will be the number 1, click Add, and this small interface will pop up. So there are 4 blanks we need to enter some numbers in. The first one is number of primary controller, and second one is number of the backup controller. The third one is number of primary port and number of backup port as the fourth one. So in this chart, I will show you if we are using port 1 of the unit number 1 and port 2 of the unit number 1 to do the first port primary and backup, and also the port 4 of the unit number 1 to do the backup job for the primary port 3 of the unit number 1. So because right now we are using only one single unit, so both the number of primary controller and the number of the backup controller will be only 1, because there is only one controller, right? So we need to configure each port one by one, like the primary port number 1 and the backup port number 2. Change the number right here and click Add. So right here, after we configure the port 1, port 2, this chart will show you the information we just configured, like the primary sending card 1 are using the primary port 1, and correspondingly, the backup sending card 1 are using the backup port 2 to do the backup job for the primary port. And then we still have the port 3 and port 4, right? So we're still using this small interface. Change the number here, primary port number 3, and the corresponding backup port is number 4. Just change the number and click add again. So in this chart, we'll show you one more information, like the port 4 is the backup port for the port 3. So after you configure every port on this controller and click this button send. And don't forget to click save to avoid the power cycle to lose some signal, the configuration data. So that's the configuration for the redundancy on single unit. Let's see the second way to do the redundancy. The second way is redundancy on multiple cascaded unit. Still, let's see the hardware connection right here. The first one is USB cable. So the control PC is using one USB cable to connect the first device, VX4S. And at the meantime, the first VX4S is using another USB cable to do the cascading to connect the second VX4S. So actually in this chart, we are using 2 ports, but everything is in a USB loop. And then we can see the video source. The video source provides a DVI signal to a video processor, and the video processor needs to split out 2 DVI signal to totally same DVI signal to our sending card. And also in this part is video processor. If you have a DVI splitter or HDMI splitter, that also can work. So, and then let's check the LED screen part. The first one, which is primary VX4S, are using 2 ports. The port 1 load the top part of the screen, and port 2 is loading the second part of the screen. So actually, the second one, the backup VX4S, are using the same port 1 to connect the last panel of the port 1 of the primary, and the port 2 of the backup connects the last panel of the port 2 of the primary. So this is the hardware connection to do the cascaded unit configuration, redundancy. Okay, and after finish this hardware job, let's see what we need to do on the software part. Before going to the software part, I think maybe some of you will be curious about the cascaded way. So actually in NovaStar products, there are some different way to do the cascading, like the MCTRL 300 and MCTRL 600, which are quite old product actually, maybe 7 years old. So they are all using the UART in and out to do the cascading, and it requires a special cable to do the cascading. And later we have the MCTRL 660. I think maybe some of you are also quite familiar with 660. So right here is still UART in and UART out to do the cascading, but differently, we are using an Ethernet cable to do the cascading right here. And the third way to do the cascading will be all the new products like the VX4S, Pro HD, MCTRL R5, 4K, or Pro UHD Junior. Everything, every controller just later than the MCTRL 660 are using the USB cable to do the cascading, which will be more, which will be easier to understand and easier to find. So MCTRL R5, 4K, and Pro HD, Pro UHD, VX4S, VX6S are all using the USB cable to do the cascading. Okay, let's go back to this chart again, this figure again. 2 VX4Ss are using USB cable to do the cascading. I hope you understand this part right now. And let's see the software part. In the NovaLCT, still, after we use a login, the control system will show you number 1. But if we click View Details of Device, we can see something different. Like the device is still VX4S, but the number of device is 2. That means these 2 devices are in one control system because they are cascading. After checking this part, we know the hardware connection is correct. And then we can click Screen Configuration, check the current operation port, and click Next to do the configuration. And the same, if we want to configure the redundancy configuration, we need to make sure the primary port is working properly. So the same, go to the screen connection and check everything right here is working, is configured right. And also in this part, we can see the sending card number will be number 1, number 2. So we have 2 controllers we can configure right now. And please note that we only configure the primary sending card, the primary VX4S, the primary 660, or primary 4K. Only configure the first one. We don't configure the second one. Okay, and after checking all this part, we can move to the sending card tab again. Also, the configuration will be a little bit different. Let's check it out. Still, we have 4 blanks we need to enter, which are number of primary controller, number of backup controller, number of primary port, and number of backup port. There are something different because the primary port right now is the port 1 of the first unit, and the backup port for this port will be the port 1 of the second unit. So this is based on the hardware connection and a little bit different from the single unit. And the same, the port 2 of the primary unit is will be backed up by the port 2 of the unit number 2. So because of this hardware connection is different, so in this interface, we need to enter some different numbers. Like the number of primary controller right now is 1, and number of backup controller is 2, the second one. And the number of primary port is 1, and number of backup port is 1. After configure the port 1, click Add, and then the job is the number 2 port. So keep this number of the controller same because the primary controller is still the first one and the backup controller is still the second one. But the port, we need to configure the port one by one. So port 2 right here, change the number as 2 and change the number of the backup port as 2. And then click Add. So the same, we will have one more piece of information in this chart. So after we configure every port in this chart, the rest configuration will be same. Click Send, send to the hardware, and click Save to avoid the power cycle. So that's the way to do the configuration of the redundancy for the multiple cascaded unit. This number of primary controller and number of backup controller will be the crucial thing based on your hardware connection. Okay, let's move to the third one, the redundancy on multiple non-cascaded unit. We just talked about the cascaded unit. And in this chart, we'll show you what's the non-cascaded unit. The same, let's check the video signal first. DVI signal from the video source enter to the video processor to split 2 same DVI signal to 2 sending cards. But the different part is the USB cable. So right now, the control PC are using 2 USB cable to connect to the 2 sending card independently. So these 2 controllers right now, there is no connection between them, but they all have the connection with the control PC. And let's check the LED part. The port 1 of the primary is still connects the first part of the LED screen, and port 2 of the primary to connect the second part of the screen. And the same for the backup device. Port 1 connects to the last panel of the primary port 1, and the port 2, which is the backup port 2, connects to the the last panel of the primary port 2. So only the USB cable right here will be the different. And also maybe some customer may ask, which the second way, cascaded unit is better or the non-cascaded unit is better. I think they are all same, but the different thing is that if in this way, we require two USB interface on our control PC. But in the second way, only one USB interface is quite enough. So it actually depends on how many USB interface on your computer. Okay. And based on this hardware connection, let's see what we need to do on the software part. So after we log in the NovaLCT, right here, the control system is not one anymore, it's two, because there are two USB cable connected to our control PC. And if we click View Details of Device, we can see two VX4Ss, but they are using different USB ports. And if we click the screen configuration, the current operation port will be USB port number 1 and USB port number 5, which means they are two different control systems. So in this part, we need to configure the controller one by one. So we choose the number 1 USB port first and click Next. Still the same, we need to make sure the primary channel is working perfectly. We check the screen connection in this page, and also we can find out right here, this is USB port number 1. So you must know this is the primary controller it's configuring right now. So after checking everything here, we click Send to Hardware and we click Save. And one more thing in this part is using this button, Save to File. This function is to save everything in this page as a file on your computer. Because in this way, we need to keep two controllers to have the same configuration information. So if we save the file right here and later we can load the file to the other controller, the number 2 controller. And that after making sure the primary channel can work perfectly, we still move to the sending card tab. It's still the primary sending card. And in the redundancy configuration, we need to click this checkbox at set as primary, and then click Save. So after this operation, the first VX4S will know it is a primary controller. And let's go to the second one. After everything here, we need to connect the USB port number 5. We click the screen configuration and choose the current operation port as the number 5 again. So still, go to the screen connection first and check all the information. And you can see from here, the second VX4S, which is a backup device, has no information of the configuration. So we can configure it again, or also we can use the file we saved before. So just click Load from File and choose the file you saved from your primary controller, and the software will get every information from that file, which is totally same with first controller, and click Send to Hardware, and remember, click Save again. So till now, the second controller will also have the same configuration information from the first one. So let's go to the sending card part. Still in the redundancy, I think you must know the second device should be set as backup. We need to click this checkbox to enable the backup function for the second VX4S unit. And then don't forget to click Save button to avoid the power cycle, maybe to lose the data of the configuration. So that's all for the redundancy configuration on the multiple non-cascaded unit. And also, we have different front panels on our controllers, like VX4S MCTRL 4K. Actually, we can use the front panel to do a lot of configurations, just like the redundancy. This is the front panel of the VX4S. If we click Advanced Settings, we go to the redundancy, and then we can configure that VX4S as primary or as backup. So it's much easier than you do a lot of job on the software part because the front panel is more convenient. Okay, let's do a summary for the redundancy configuration. There are 3 ways to do the configuration. The first way is the redundancy on a single unit. So because the screen is not big, we can load the screen, and also we have more available ports of the controller. So we can use available ports to do the configuration of redundancy. But remember, we need to configure each corresponding primary and backup port one by one. So after that, we can have the redundancy effect. And the second one is the redundancy on the cascaded unit. I just showed you different cascaded ways of different controllers. The MCTRL 300, 600 are using a special cable to do the cascading, and MCTRL 660 is using an Ethernet cable to do the cascading. And later on the VX4S, Pro HD, or other new controllers, we are all using the USB cable to do the cascading. So the cascade way are different. And we need to set, for the redundancy configuration, we need to set the screen connection on primary unit only. And then the same for the single unit, configure each corresponding primary and backup port in the software. We need to configure each port one by one. And the third one is the redundancy on the non-cascading unit. So the same, we need to keep the same configuration on both units. We use a configuration file from the primary controller and then apply the file to the second backup controller to make sure the 2 configurations are totally same. And then we need to configure the whole unit to work as a primary unit or a backup unit. So in this part, we don't need to configure the ports one by one anymore. We can set the whole unit to work as primary or backup. I think maybe it's more convenient. Okay, so that's all for the redundancy configuration. And what's more we can provide for our customers during this special situation. Let's see, this picture is showing on our official website, and we designed a NovaStar online workshops page. So actually in this page, we have a lot of interesting videos. We have like the NovaStar course, which is a software operation video series. We have right now we have 10 videos, and also the number 9 is a redundancy setting. This is a video talking about the redundancy setting. Probably you can go to this web page and to view this video as a review if you miss something in this online training. And also we have another video series, is the NovaStar Academy. It is a product solution series. And we can show you more information about our new controllers or new solutions. Probably you can find more interesting part, not only on the hardware part and also on the project part. So find more videos on novastar.tech, and choose sports and training, and choose the NovaStar online workshops. Okay, so let's have a look about the controllers we use today. We're using MCTRL 660. Which is 2.3 million pixels loading capacity, and there are 4 ports to load the screen. And the other one is VX4S, which is an all-in-one controller. It has 2.3 million pixels of the loading capacity, and it has the auto scale and picture-in-picture function, and also it has 4 ports. So actually, these 2 controllers are the old controllers, and at the meantime, we have new controllers like the MCTRL 660 Pro. They have the same loading capacity as 2.3 million pixels, but there are 6 ports. So 6 more ports means maybe probably we can have more choices to do the redundancy in one single unit. And it also supports low latency, HDMI, DVI, and SDI. So the last big guy is Pro UHD Junior, which is a 4K all-in-one controller. There are 16 ports, and it also combines every new features of NovaStar. It's like it supports 3 layers plus background. It supports HDR, low latency. Actually, everything you can find on NovaStar are supported in this project, in this Pro UHD Junior. Okay, that's all the training, all my presentation for today. Thank you very much for your attention. And please scan the feedback QR code here to give us feedback. And also we have a link in the message zone. Please copy that and paste it on your browser to give us a feedback in order to let us have a chance to do our training better. And also we have this video recorded, and we will upload this video on our official NovaStar YouTube channel in 2 days. And later you can check it out, maybe to just as a review as well. And the next part will be the Q&A part. So please feel free to leave your questions that are related to today's topic in the chat room, and my colleague Darren will answer all the questions for you. And please give us 30 seconds to do the preparation, and we will have some music during the waiting time. Thank you very much.
Have a nice